said he may be a few minutes late, but let's get started with a roll call. John Johnson is here. Chris Bowl, Pam Rowland, Paul Tinney.
I see Pam logged in, so give her a second, but I'm here.
Benjamin Stanley.
Present.
Michael Harrison. Michael, you're on.
I'm here.
Joseph Buckman.
Hi, John. Joe Buckman's here.
Sean Fletcher is not, but Patrick McVeary is here in his place. Caitlin Becken.
Hello.
And Commission Liaison Eric Cunningham. Introduction of guests. We have a board applicant, and I'm going to try really hard to pronounce your last name, Randy. Is it Zurab?
It's pronounced Schwerab.
Okay.
SH.
Excellent. Can you tell us your interest in joining the board?
Yes, of course. I've lived in Kalamazoo for about 6 years. I work at the Kalamazoo Psychiatric Hospital as a recreational therapist. And I'm just really interested in getting more involved in my community. I obviously have an interest in Parks and Rec. I am going to school for public administration right now. So I'm really looking for some experience in Parks and Rec to see if it's something that I would continue having interest in.
Excellent. Can you explain any favorite park in the city of Kalamazoo? Any concern you have with parks or recreation?
I actually live really close to Millam Park. And I know that there's a lot of stuff going on down there right now, or they might be done with it. I don't know, but there was a lot going on. So that's probably the park that I utilize the most. I have a little girl, so we're gonna start, going to more parks within Kalamazoo, but other than Millam Park, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of what else Kalamazoo offers.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, excellent. Anyone have any questions for Randy? Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, and thank you for being an applicant. I just wanted to ask a question, just being a fellow MPA, like your experiences with your public administration education. What would you like to bring or learn within the commission directly that would kind of influence your trajectory on what you want to do?
Yeah. So my concentration is in health. So really looking at the public health aspect of it and what parks brings to the community as far as that, and how I can relate my experiences being a recreation therapist. I have experience planning events and things like that. So also looking at the recreation aspect of what Kalamazoo Parks offers, I think is probably my main focus and where my interest lies. So recreation and the public health aspects of parks.
Anything else, Michael? Randy, you said you had a young child. Have you and your child participated in any recreational activities through the department?
No, like I said, really our only experience has been with Millam Park. I know they had a Halloween thing this past Halloween, but that's really it.
Okay.
I'd like to start to do more. And I think being on this board, I might have more of an awareness of what's going on, and it'll be really good.
Excellent. Are you familiar with the kick pool or Upjohn Park, Farmers Market?
I know where Upjohn Park is.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Upjohn Park has the kick pool, which is, for me, a pretty incredible asset for the city to have. And I know they have lots of recreational activities for children, a lot of training for swimming lessons and things like that. So it's really
Okay,
an incredible asset for the community to have.
great.
Any other board questions for Randy?
Yeah. Is there anything specific? Just diving in a little bit about what you're talking about, like event planning you were saying, is there anything that comes to mind that you would like to see more of or different or anything like that?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is just, and I could, because I don't have a lot of knowledge yet in this area, I could have be missing it. But as far as like promotion and promoting and getting the word out into the community, I know that's always a difficult thing. So maybe some measures to increase that. I know I've been part of like planning an event like Art Hop. So things like that I'm really interested in. I have a background in art, so recreational things to deal with art. But yeah.
Love it. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy. One thing that I have brought up in the past is winter activities. I don't see a lot of those in this community, and it's something that I've kind of pushed for. Do you have any background in those types of activities?
I do, but events that would be taking place like inside mostly. So there's definitely a challenge when you're trying to plan a winter event for outside and trying to figure out some possibilities and opportunities there. I'm trying to think back on if there's anything specific. In my career yet, no.
Well,
don't
and
think
that's
so.
that's one of the challenges we've discussed in this meeting is trying to plan winter activities is, I mean, obviously dependent on weather. We've discussed ice skating and things like that, but if you don't have the cold temperatures, you don't have ice skating. So
Right.
all of those activities are pretty weather dependent, obviously.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely a challenge.
oh, absolutely. We're finding that out.
But I mean, I'm open to, like I said, I work at the hospital and we do a lot of different events, and I can try to bring, that into this and brainstorm and try to think of solutions.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Randy?
Maybe I missed it, but could you just talk about your background a little bit more? You said you work at the hospital, you're going to Western, and you live in Millwood, I think.
Yeah.
But did you grow up in Kalamazoo, or how long have you been here?
I actually grew up in Battle Creek, and then I moved to the east side of the state for a few years to complete my bachelor's in recreation therapy. And then I moved back to Kalamazoo about 6 years ago, or to the Kalamazoo area 6 years ago, to work at the Kalamazoo Psychiatric Hospital. And then maybe 2 years ago, went back to get my master's at Western.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any more questions? Randy, I think that's what we need to know at this point. I certainly appreciate you coming to the meeting, introducing yourself. We're going to ask you to leave so that we can discuss your application, and the Parks Department will let you know how we have voted.
Okay, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me today.
Absolutely. We certainly appreciate your interest in the Parks and Recreation Board. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks.
Sounds great.
Any comments? I know we kind of like a diversity with age. I know we like a diversity based on neighborhoods. I love the fact that she is a recreational therapist. Maybe she and Ashton can work together or discuss things. So I think she's got great qualities. I mean, obviously there's the interest in the department. Any other feedback? Go ahead, Michael.
So I just had a quick question just about the approach that we have, not only with the young lady that we met today, but also just as we continue to build on the team. You know, I'm kind of new somewhat. I don't feel new anymore, but I feel like what I've heard is about diversifying the board, adding some female representation, some, neighborhood diversity. But my question is about, what we're looking for besides those aspects. Like, I understand her interest, but like you said, John, she didn't have too much knowledge about the parks itself. So, how do I evaluate somebody who's passionate about serving in the committee, but has no clue about what we do, on the committee, and is just trying to kind of learn as they go? Like, I don't know how to evaluate the talent that we get in order to produce the kind of committee that we expect. So I think my question is, what should we be looking for in candidates as we move forward? And then how do we make sure that the candidates on board not only represent those entities like, Western and, the hospital in Millwood, but also, they represent everything, not just a personal desire to get better.
I think those are great points. Unfortunately, I think in the past we've needed board members, and now that we've grown, I think we can tend to be a little bit more selective with who we add to the board. I do like the point that she didn't know necessarily a lot about the Parks Department. I didn't either when I joined the board. So I think it's important, but I think that's something that people can learn. I don't know what other people think about that. Other board members think about that.
Hey, John.
Go
ahead.
So, I was looking back at past minutes from board meetings, and item that Sean brought up at the August meeting was orientation for new board members. So Michael raises a good point. She didn't seem to know much about parks other than Millam Park, but she seems to have a desire to join the board. So when new people, like say Michael and I, who are relatively new, how do we shepherd them to kind of grow into the position if they have that passion? To me, it's great that they have the passion, but just to say, okay, you're on the board, now what is it that we expect of you? Or what do we hope you do?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure I have an answer to that, John, but anyhow, that's kind of my view of it, that if we had something, even simple things like, I was going to ask her the question, like, how many parks does the city of Kalamazoo have? And I suspect she probably didn't know the answer to that.
Right.
Simple things. So
Right.
Anyhow, that's my only comment.
And I think what I'm hearing is that, one, orientation of new board members. And I guess it might be helpful to do some sort of a mentorship, maybe match new board members with members who have been on the board for a longer period of time. That might be beneficial. Go ahead, Michael.
I also want to think, like, as we onboard members, like, we also need to ask the questions to understand who we need to onboard and how they need to grow within the committee. So some kind of line of questioning that maybe we have put before us that kind of identifies who the individual is and how we need to support them as they join the commission, if they are to join.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Any specific comments related to Randy as an applicant?
I'll make some comments, I guess. I guess first of all, like in regards to like expectations of knowledge of the activities of the board, I don't have very high expectations on like new incoming members on what they would know about like what the board does day to day. But I guess I found it a little disappointing that like after 6 years in Kalamazoo, kind of was only aware of Millam Park and didn't really have much exposure to other places. But I guess on the more positive aspects of our application is like, I think we need more women on this board. And I think she has a lot of energy, like she seems to have a passion to learn and to grow and to figure things out. And I think that that's like probably the most critical thing to have coming to a board like this. And so I guess those positive aspects kind of outweigh the negatives for me, but yeah, it's not 100% one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I understand not necessarily having an expertise or a knowledge of this advisory board, but she certainly does have an interest. She certainly does have the recreational aspect piece of it. So any other board comments? Do we have a motion?
Ben's got a comment.
I guess I would
Go ahead, Ben.
that really liked the aspect of mental health that she was talking about, that she says she's involved in. I think that I think we could definitely build off of that with parks being a way for people to access mental health, going to a park, going for a walk, stuff like that. So I think that was a very positive note.
Yeah, that's really good.
John, can you hear me? Am I on mute?
Go ahead, Pam.
Okay, so her name again is Randy. What is her name? Okay, I would just like to make a comment. Like yourself, when we both came on the board, we didn't have, I didn't know how many parks there were in the city of Kalamazoo, and I've been here all my life. I did take a special interest in the Martin Luther King Park specifically because we adopted it back in 1987. And so I just feel like there's an attachment that we have a sense of ownership. And like she did speak about being having special events experience. And I think that could be a plus, because to plan the various activities, and you talked about the winter sports and all of that, she don't know a lot about, the planning, this was something new to her. But I think that, we do need to be more diverse, have more women on our board. But what she has expressed is that she does have a passion. And so I don't want to take anything away from her, because she has come forth, she's expressed an interest. And we talked about orientation, we talked about mentoring. And like myself, I'm learning, and there's still a lot for me to learn as we get ready to end our term. But she seemed like she could fit the role to me with the experience, with her educational background, recreational, all of that. So I liked her presentation. I did.
Thanks, Pam. Chris, we're talking about Randy, who is the new board applicant. Michael, you had a comment?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of clarify and kind of make sure I rephrase my question as I sit here with it. So Randy's great. I kind of, agree with everybody here. But I'm thinking about, as we have some of our, more seasoned committee members leave, and there'll be some younger faces trying to lead this work and kind of develop some of the practices that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I had two thoughts. Is like, we are still learning as we go about just the commission and our role and how we want to move forward and just all the aspects that there is. We haven't kind of created an onboarding practice that we can kind of share with the next commission or whoever comes after us, right? So they will be learning as we go too. So, part of it is like, I would want to do whoever comes behind us the best service possible by giving them the best commission as well. So I would think, or in my head, I'm thinking like, as we go through this transition period, especially with, new to old and bringing on new people, that we might need to create the products and the practice to make sure that we can function effectively before we bring anybody else on board. Because if the boat is being steered by me and I don't know how to drive, it's every man for themselves. And I'm thinking, I don't want to put anybody in this city, regardless of what neighborhood, you're from, in that kind of situation. And I don't want to feel like that too, right? Because like you said, we're going through a transition. So I just want to make sure that we provide whoever comes on board the best possible opportunity to grow the commission in the way that it could, which might look, and I think that it should. And I think, Ms. Pam, that's what you were saying. Like, it looks different from where you were to where we are and how we came on board and to how the people that'll follow us. We should always be trying to get the practice and process better for those following generations. And that means we need to do something, in my opinion, before we bring more people on board.
It's agreeable. Understand.
Okay.
When would we like to talk about how to work on that process? Because I agree 100%.
Is that a December board meeting topic? Is that something we want to discuss at a different meeting?
I mean, either someone in the Parks Department probably need to help put together a plan, or else it's up to one of us to generate that document. I don't know if there's any bandwidth at the Parks Department to help with that creation of a plan. I mean, we've been asking for this for a year, so I mean,
yeah,
or for longer than that, to be honest, I would think. So is it, I guess that's my question, is it something that the Parks Department can help with their employees, or is it something that you're looking to the board members to provide? Because we obviously have the experience of going through it.
Now, I personally, and I think maybe Pam has a notebook that we were given when we started on this board. I don't know if Shannon has ever seen anything like that or not. I'm certain it would be helpful.
it was.
But I don't know if it's something that Shannon or perhaps even Sean has seen. Patrick, do you know anything about I mean, we literally got a notebook of information when we started.
Yeah, no, I've never seen anything or come across it and stuff that we have at the office, but it would definitely be helpful. Yeah. And
Okay.
to Paul's point,
So is your recollection that it was a tutorial of sorts, or what was it, John or Pam?
It wasn't necessarily a tutorial. It's here.
Mm-hmm.
This is information for you. It was given to us by Pam, was it Cheryl Pesty?
I recall Mika Phillips. When I came on, she was chairperson.
Okay.
In the notebook, I can't tell you where mine is right now,
okay.
But I do remember part of that, it gave information about each one of the city parks as well. That was a very good resource, but it's probably a little outdated. Probably need some revisions to that. I think they talked about revising it at that time, but for sure, if we had a resource or if we had maybe to develop certain lines of questions that we should ask anybody that's interested in being on the board, I think that would be very helpful. But getting back to who would be responsible for creating that document, I guess that would be the question right now.
I guess, is this something we want to add to the board meeting for next month, and that way Sean can give his input?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
And he may have seen it. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've never seen anything. But that's probably a good idea.
Why don't we do that, Shannon? We'll add that, some sort of a board member orientation to next month's agenda.
Okay, will do.
Thank you, Shannon. What would we like to do with Randy's application? We need to vote yay or nay. Do I have a motion, Michael?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to pause on Randy's application until the first of the year, and so after we've developed some onboarding and some what is the word I'm looking for? Some beginning practices to bring commission members on.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. Michael, go ahead.
John, one more thing I just wanted to add so we can close this out is, like, during that next meeting, if we can think of maybe 2 questions each that we would want to ask a commission member and we come with it to the board, that'll give us enough questions at least to kind of whittle through, to say, hey, that's a good one, no or not. So we can add that to whatever, Sean puts together, or just whatever we come with, with the meeting. So it gives us a little bit of a head start for January.
No, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Any special presentations? Approval of the October board meeting minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at those? Any questions, comments, changes? Do I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve last month's meetings as is.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Old business, winter events and activities. Patrick, can you give us maybe an update on the ice skating rink at Spring Valley Park?
Yeah, I can try. I was actually thinking of this the other day when Sean asked me to sit in. I know it's still on our radar. I will have to check with the park staff to see. I'm not sure what's been done since the events of Preston happened. But I know we had spoken about it as a staff probably a month ago, and it was on the radar, so I can follow up with them and then let you guys know for next month's meeting. But I know that was partially coming up, and we were discussing that before what happened. So
yeah. I think the last I knew that Rink was draining water, that it wasn't actually retaining water. Do you know if that's been fixed? If it's,
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know he had been working on it a little bit over the summertime, but I don't know.
Okay.
But I can find out.
Yeah, and you don't know at this point if it's been coated. I know it needed some sort of, hopefully like a white reflective coating put on it.
Yeah, I don't believe it has been.
Okay.
But that there's ways around that to do that right now, so we
Right.
can definitely look into that.
Right. Ben, you had a comment?
I know that there's a brass screw that you can put a cap in. It's like a 4, 5, or 6 inch cap. You can buy them from Menards or Home Depot for like $4. I mean, I can buy one and screw it in there if you guys would like. Otherwise, I would like to make a motion to have the Kalamazoo Parks Department to do what needs to be done to make the Spring Valley Ice Rink usable this winter.
And Ben, I think that's the expectation. I mean, that's certainly what we're all hoping for. And I guess now is the time of the year in order to, one, have staff available to work on it. And I think we now have resources that we can reallocate to that activity.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct, Patrick?
Yes.
Okay.
So John, what you're saying is we don't necessarily need to vote on that. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think we can trust that Patrick and Sean will focus attention on it. I mean, obviously they know that this is a priority for us.
Yeah.
Would we like to vote on that? I mean, I'm certainly willing to do that. Ben, do you want us to prioritize that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we just, the board makes a vote, and I mean, that's just telling the Parks Department that's something that we want to have happen. That's all.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I could second that.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All in favor of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board prioritizing? Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say aye, sorry.
Okay. Michael, a comment?
Before we take the vote, one of the questions I have is like, does the Parks Department have a kind of like a timeline that they're working from or working for that says that it will be done or it could be done or this is our expectation, of that particular project, its completion?
I mean, that would be all dependent on weather. We can set it up and flood it, but until it's, a good week or two of below freezing temperatures for it to solidify, it wouldn't do anything. I would say depending on the weather, if it starts to get colder, in the next month or so, we could definitely have it set up sometime in December, definitely.
The reason why I asked is I didn't want to vote for, something that might not happen just depending on the weather or just capacity or whatever it is. And then we're just set up to fail. Like we wanted the ice rink, but the weather it never was conducive to actually making it happen. So even though it was a priority for us as a department or as a commission, it didn't kind of come true.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of ask that just to make sure.
Yep.
Well, go ahead, Ben.
I guess I just want to make clear what I'm talking about is a $4 or $5 cap to cover that plug. Maybe getting like a pressure washer and getting the dirt off the corners around the sidewalk. I know it's a little built up around the edge, something like that.
Mhm.
And then putting water. Anything else is extra lights or painting it white or anything. Just let's make an attempt. Let's have a year where we try something. That's all I'm asking for.
And that's the feel that I had from what Ben was saying, is let's prioritize this project. We may not be successful because of weather, but let's prioritize this project so that it actually is ready for water. It is ready, provided that the weather conditions are conducive to creating ice or whatever. So I think what Ben is saying is let's vote on prioritizing this project so that it is ready for the season, provided we have adequate temperatures to produce ice.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying, Ben? Okay. Is that your motion? Do you want to make that motion, Ben?
I make a motion to prioritize to the Kalamazoo Parks Department to have the Spring Valley Ice Rink ready for ice if it gets cold.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Excellent, thank you. Any other winter events and activities conversation? Michael?
We had talked about doing a sledding competition if it was some kind of snow that was on the ground out of Spring Valley Park. I also wanted to add some potential for a late kind of winter, early spring bonfire in maybe a community park that was Kalamazoo Public Safety approved. And I also want to see about the potential possibility. I had this dream the other night of walking through parks and having a snowball not a snowball, sorry, wrong dream, having a snowman competition right in the different parks. So every park I went to, the community went and built snowmen in the community and decorated them accordingly. And then the city of Kalamazoo had a competition that said this park won, the best snowball competition. I'm sorry, wrong dream again. Snowman competition for, the city. And it was something that was done consistently, gave out a little award and kind of got attention to the parks and people in the parks in the winter. And it kind of foot traffic, attention. I just thought it would be a good kind of activity to keep people out, families out especially. It's all conducive on some snow though. So I wanted to throw those out there.
Patrick, is that some sort of activity that you can share with Sean and Ashton and see if maybe they can come up with something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good idea.
Ben, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to play off what Matthew was saying. I know Michigan Tech does something kind of like that called Winter Fest. And it would be really cool if maybe we could communicate with our adopt-a-park friends and maybe even try and tie them up with a business. I know like a lot of the skeletons downtown are adopted by a business. Just a way to get different parts of the city to work together and maybe like sponsor a sculpture or a park to build a sculpture or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are great ideas. Any other winter events and activities comments?
I was also wondering if we were to have like when we did this sledding event in Spring Valley, if we could, we might have to pay someone to have like sleigh rides. Maybe people would have to pay for the rides. I'm not sure. If I coordinated with someone who has a sleigh and horses, would I have them talk to Patrick or Sean or the board, or how would I try and make that happen to help get people out there?
Pat?
Good question.
Pat? Would they go through Ashton?
Well,
I don't want to dump everything on Ashton.
well, that's all right. No, I'm kidding.
It's not here.
Yeah. It would probably, I'd say probably maybe initially through Sean, but it's something that probably the whole department can oversee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be something good to bring up to him and then maybe to the board as well. And then we can, go from there.
Okay.
That would be a good idea.
Ben, could you send him an email regarding that?
Yeah. I mean, should I reach out and find somebody and get prices and get some of the logistics covered first? So it's just like a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing.
Yeah, if you want to, that would be great.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah. I think
And
that
another
would,
that I've seen done in Grand Rapids at Calvin College is a polar plunge. And a lot of times people will get like donations to go jump in the water. I don't know if we could do something like that at either Spring Valley or Woods Lake or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think the more ideas that we come up with, the better. So no, I think that's great.
Is there anything I need to do to make it reality other than make a Facebook post or something?
I think that's something. There is a marketing department, isn't there, Patrick, that could help us with those types of things?
Yeah, definitely Neil and Amanda could try and help push that if we decided to do it.
Yeah. Okay. No, Ben, I think I would share those ideas directly with Sean. And like you said, if you have specifics about it, I think that would make his decision easier. So yeah, if you have time to collect that information, I think that's great. Yeah. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a comment real quick?
Go ahead, Michael.
So I think this kind of goes back to what I was thinking before is like, if we have ideas or projects or, anything that comes on our agenda, like, I feel like there's some kind of role or responsibility that we have to make sure these initiatives get put forward and we just don't put it all on Pat and Sean and, the Parks Department. But on the flip side is I don't know what that role is, right? Like I might have tons of great ideas, but you guys might not have none of the time to make them happen, which runs into the frustration of like same conversations over and over again, that we're trying to push through a department that doesn't have time to do it. So I think my question is like, what would be and we don't have to answer it now, but like moving forward, identifying like on these topics for our agenda, what information do we need to bring, especially if we have some kind of idea about the subject itself, to make sure that we can bring it to the commission, we can have it straight for the department, and it can be moved on, right? So we still not talking about winners here tomorrow, right? We still trying to get certain activities here, but if we had this planned out when we first started talking about it, or at least we knew what to bring, we could be talking about summer 22 right now instead of trying to worry about winter. So going forward, if we have an idea about, hey, we're having these discussions, bringing these ideas, like the question kind of comment, like we know we have some kind of homework that we're bringing to the conversation, it makes it a lot easier and kind of more efficient for our conversation. But I'm not sure what that is. So any kind of information or suggestions about what that is, even if it's contact information of individuals, like I don't know anything about snowmen, or even making them besides what I've done in my front yard. But if it's something that I can do on my end to make it happen, I feel like I need to do it to make the idea a little bit more proactive and kind of fruitful, instead of just a conversation. So that was my 2 cents, just thinking about that.
I was thinking the same thing.
And I think that is certainly worth a conversation is we come up with some creative, innovative ideas for this department. What is a mechanism to get those types of ideas and activities implemented? Right.
Yep.
So good conversation.
Yeah.
Any other comments about the winter activities?
I know a ice rink in Bronson Park was also hopeful. Patrick, do you have any update on that?
I do not know.
Okay,
Yeah, the
that's
only
it.
sorry. Sorry, Chris. The only one I know of that we were talking about focusing on was Spring Valley. I know that's Bronson's still in the mix, but I don't know, what will transpire this year with that one at all.
Right.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dog park rules. Ben, is that your topic?
It could be. Yeah, let me, I got to run over and grab my other phone so I can read while I'm zooming here at the same time. I sent you guys a copy of some of the city rules in the email. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to read that or not. But it is, there's some park rules that say, my apologies, give me 1 second here. All I know is last winter. See here, mission, count zoo.
I can read them if you need help. Ben.
I think I got it here, but thank you. Yeah, go ahead. I think it's I1 and 2.
Well, I've got this 33-24 city parks public spaces. Item A is no person shall enter into, remain in, or use any park in which hours of operation are restricted, except during the park's posted hours of operation, nor may a person engage in activities that are prohibited by park rules, posted rules.
Yeah, so I guess that one's not 100%. I guess that one is partially relevant. That was also relevant to what I brought up when we were at Martin Luther King Park, with some parks not being 24/7, like Bronson Park. So if you're sitting on a bench, technically you are committing a misdemeanor, and you won't necessarily be arrested, but you could be cited. And I don't think I would not be proud of an officer who gave somebody a citation who was sitting on a park bench having a conversation in Martin Luther King Park. But that's just my opinion. I know everybody doesn't agree with me. But yeah, I guess more specifically the
leashing of dogs one. Do you want me to read that?
All dogs be securely held and controlled on a leash, no longer than 6 feet in length, except in such areas as the city may post and identify by appropriate signs as permitting dogs to be at large. There are no signs at any city park designating a park to be off leash. There are signs at the dog park here that say, keep your dog on a leash, it's the law. And there's a rule that says your dog has to be leashed when entering or exiting the dog park. I know I brought up at the last meeting or the one before, personally, I don't think it should be criminal to be playing fetch or frisbee with your dog at Spring Valley Park. So I don't know if there's a way where we can make it acceptable to be playing fetch with a dog that is obedient and under control. What do you guys think about that?
So I think there's like two groups of rules that we're kind of thinking about here. I know the agenda item has the dog park rules, and I just wonder if for focus today, if we should focus on the dog park rules, because they did send out a list of dog park rules, and I think there's 8 items that he wants to post on a sign, and it seems like that's an actionable item in the near term that we could like try to answer today. And then maybe like these more broad dog park rule or dog rules dog leash rules we can put as an agenda next on another meeting, because like I see those as kind of two different areas, and it's going to get confusing, I think, if we're kind of jumping between them.
Well, and I think Paul makes a good point. I mean, I think there are specific rules designed for a dog park, and I think there are more general rules that are designed for parks in general. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Yeah, and I'm kind of the conversation that we're having now, the rules that are highlighted here, they might, I guess they are interesting to this general park rules, but like on our agenda we have dog park rules, and I thought today we should be discussing the dog park rules, and that was the list that was sent out, that where there's these 8 rules that are going to be posted on a sign. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have that other conversation. I'm just saying that I think for today, I would rather spend our time going through the dog park rules that are being proposed for the signage. And then in maybe next meeting, we can add to the agenda the general park rules of leash dogs, like that kind of conversation. And I don't know, I see them as 2 different topics. I mean, otherwise we could talk about this, there's 2 discussions to be had. And so I just want to make sure that they're separate discussions. And does that make sense?
It
Totally.
makes sense to me, yes.
Yep.
Joseph, did you have a comment?
No, I agree with Paul.
Okay, I agree. I think we need to stay on topic with just the dog park rules aspect. So.
Yeah, I was just trying to bring up the section I on that, which has to do with dog leashing in city parks.
Okay.
And I know we can't change the rule in the document I sent today because that's a city commission ordinance. We don't have the power to do that. We could only make a suggestion. But there's another city ordinance that gives the power to the parks to make the rules. And then if you violate the rule, you're committing a misdemeanor. So I don't know if we want to talk about the 8 things that Sean sent, or if we just want to simply vote on what Sean prepared and approve it, or how you guys want to do that.
I think we want to have a conversation about it. Are there additions? Are there changes? Are there things that we want to delete on that document? Or
so yeah, I guess I think Ben probably has the most knowledge on this, but I'll give my few 2 cents. They're mostly small points, but I don't know if Patrick, if you can answer the questions, or Shannon, I'm not sure if you'd be able to, but when I read this over, I see at the top, it says they're going to have this welcome to Fairmont Dog Park, open 8 a.m. to sunset daily. And I guess my first question is 8 a.m. It doesn't really work for someone that has a job and wants to bring their dog to the park beforehand. So like, why isn't it sunrise to sunset? That's item 1. If we go down to bullet point number 2, I guess, or list number 2, whatever. The city of Kalamazoo is not liable for any injury or damage. This is caused by any dog. And I think we could just remove that caused by any dog, but like just be that occurs within the dog park. I don't think you want to be liable. Like if I was a lawyer, I guess I'd look at that and I wouldn't want to be liable for any damage, any harms that happen inside the park, not just ones caused by dogs. Item 4, the dog must be at least 4 months old. I'm not sure if there's what happens at 4 months, what why 4 months is the age where it's appropriate, I guess. But that was kind of more of just a question of why 4 months. And then my last comment is just on item number 5, and it's the valid license. And I guess I did a little bit more research, and it seems like Kalamazoo does have a rule for dogs that you have to have a valid license. And so that made more sense at that point. But I guess I'd never had a dog license before when we had dogs growing up. So that was a new one on me. So anyway, that's not important. So I guess one question is just why 4 months? And then
Because they need
you already
to
have my
be,
comments on the others.
the dogs, Paul?
Yeah.
I think that's 4 months because they don't get their shots until they're 4 months.
Okay.
Because my daughter has a new dog, and he can't get his shots until he's 4 months. And I think that has something to do with that.
Yeah, I guess item number 5 though already talks about them having up-to-date rabies, distemper, and Bortadella vaccinations.
Yeah,
So
that,
it's kind of like double covered then, and it
yeah,
might not be necessary to have the 4 month thing there because then you're required to have vaccines.
right.
I think those are great points, Paul. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, Ben, are you still there? I think you specifically had a concern with leashing a dog.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone's about to die, so I gotta run home and plug it in. So Fairmount Dog Park is about 12 acres almost. And there is about, I don't know if anybody, Patrick maybe has a guess, 1 or 2 acres maybe that are fenced in. It's definitely not a majority of the park. You can pull it up on Google Maps and you can see it, and it's a very small portion of the park that's fenced in. And for example, one of the rules is you're not allowed to have food in the park. And I can definitely understand why that rule is there. But if you have a barbecue every Thursday, you can't have your dogs in the park and have a barbecue. So either way you do it, you're in violation. And if somebody doesn't like you and calls the cops on you every single Thursday, you're going to get in trouble. And I don't know if that's what we're aiming for.
I think on these rules, it looks like it says that you're just not allowed to have food inside the off-leash enclosures.
Yeah, so you can't have a barbecue inside the off-leash enclosure, and you can't have your dog off a leash at the dog park outside the enclosure. Even if your dog is on control, even if your dog is sitting right next to you, it has to be on a leash. And if it's not, you're a criminal. Okay. I'm literally going to court November 23rd, and my lawyer says I have no shot. She said, you're going to get charged. So that's what we are creating. Whether that's our goal or not is what I want to talk about. Is our goal to make it so people are criminals if their dog is sitting next to them without a leash on?
I guess I don't see that as a goal of this department. I guess I don't see throngs and throngs of people being arrested by public safety for not leashing dogs. Does it happen? Obviously it does, but I don't see this department, or I don't see residents calling public safety week after week after week on throngs of residents. I don't see that happening, and I don't think that's certainly anything that the Parks Department wants.
Michael?
So, quick question, just for my understanding. I don't have a dog, so I appreciate the 4-month information, Miss Pam, from my daughter who's been asking me. But my question is, how do you enforce rules like this? So, I kind of think I understand what Ben is saying, that it doesn't make sense for us to have rules if the rules are not going to be enforced. But are we really trying to enforce these rules to be criminal rules, I think? And it's like, I don't know how you would enforce them without, like you would have to have a personal vendetta against me in order to call every time I come, or it would be a certain kind of group that would be kind of identified. Like, I don't understand how we can enforce park rules if we don't have a park ranger or somebody that is constantly patrolling the park and asking, like, is your dog, does it have all its shot? Let me see the car. Let me check the tags. Like, hey, you need to put, like, how do you police a park? And then we have people going to, court, over tickets and stuff. Like, that is my question about the process.
You call the police.
Yeah, but like, is it because I call the police on you because it's like, I don't like Ben, so every time I see Ben and he does something, that's number 4, that's number 6. It's like, is it that, or is it I have a neighbor that is trying to follow the rules precisely in this particular park, so everybody that comes has to make sure they follow X, Y, and Z, so they're like the dog park police.
Any and all. So somebody could call every time they see a dog that's not neutered or spayed, and the cops have to come out and investigate. That's one of their obligations if somebody call. And right now, if your dog is not neutered or spayed, that is a criminal offense.
But are they going to charge you, or are they going to ask you to leave? I mean, I think there are different options in that situation.
Yeah. So if your dog is not neutered or spayed and a cop comes and says, hey, you need to leave the park, and you don't leave because your dog is not neutered or spayed, you say, no, am I doing anything else wrong? And they go, nope, you have to leave because your dog is not neutered or spayed. And they say, okay, fine, then give me a citation. And the cop goes, all right, here you go. Is that our goal as a parks board for the city of Kalamazoo? Is to make sure that people feel like they need to go home and never come back to a park unless their dog is neutered or spayed?
I guess my question is, how often is this happening?
It can happen a lot more if you want it to.
Well, true. Absolutely.
I don't understand the point of that question so much as, is that an option that we want to leave people to call the cops on somebody if they have a disagreement with them over anything? You have blue hair and I don't like that, so I'm going to call the cops on you because I see your dog has balls.
Go ahead, Michael.
So here's my question. I want to put it to Ben because I think I'm trying to frame the conversation so I understand. So if I take out dogs, right, and I say we're at the basketball court and my homeboys are littering with some alcohol bottles, they're closed, you might not know it, but you're a resident from across the street and you see me at it. So you call the police and say, hey man, them guys are over there littering or loitering and they're not playing basketball. The police say, hey, you guys need to go. And we say, you know what, man, we chilling, we just don't want to go anywhere. What I hear the question being is, should we give those guys a citation because they are violating the park rules? So if we take out the guys in the situation, we say the dogs, and the person is not following the rules at the park, do those individuals deserve a citation because they're not abiding by the rules of the park?
Michael, are you saying that these park rules allow any resident to target someone because they don't like them?
I'm asking, is it targeting if I say that you're not following the rules because the rules are posted? Or are we saying that because the rules are like in my example with the guys at the basketball court, right, they're not following the rules that are clearly posted. And they would be issued citations just like somebody at the dog park would be issued citations if they're not following the rules. We don't have any park police, right, that are coming to evaluate this. But if somebody is called and you're not following anything on that list, what I hear you saying is, are we trying to give people criminal offenses for messing up park rules?
That is what's happening right now. There's no question about it. I filed a FOIA for the 911 calls if you guys want me to play those, but I don't think that's relevant to this meeting so much.
So what would we like to do with the park rules? Do we dog park rules? Do we want to toss those back to Sean with some of the suggestions that Ben and Paul have come up with?
I would like this board to come up with rules that they think are appropriate for this city. We have people from all different neighborhoods. We have people from all different walks of life, all different education backgrounds. I think that we can come up with some basic ideas of what we would want to see if we went somewhere. I really like the point about the 4 months versus the having the shots.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of double counting there. But that's my opinion.
What would
I guess
we
that's
like?
what I'm hearing kind of is that there's
Go ahead,
maybe
Paul.
some broader rules that you're wanting to look at before we're able to look at this park's specific rules. Is that what you're saying, Ben? That you think we should wait on these park rules until we look at the broader city rules? Is that?
No,
I guess I'm not sure.
I was just bringing up that the city has a law, an ordinance that this board cannot change. It says that every single dog has to be on a leash. That's it. And then it gives an exception for a service dog. Service dogs don't have to be on a leash. And then it also gives an exception for parks that have signs that clearly state that the dog can be at large, which means not on a leash or under control. At large doesn't just mean off a leash. Off leash or at large means, according to the city of Kalamazoo's definition, off leash and out of the handler's control. So inside that fenced area, your dog doesn't have to come back when you say come. You could chase it down for 3 hours saying, come on, we gotta go, come back here. And that's fine. Nobody has a problem with that as long as it's not being aggressive, getting into fights or anything like that. That's not allowed at the park. And I agree, dog fighting should not be allowed at the park. If your dog's getting in a fight, there's a rule that says you have to leave. I think that's great. And there's also a rule that says your dog has to be neutered or spayed. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that rule. I would like to change it, but I am only one person on a board, so I need other people to agree with me. There is a rule that says your dog has to be on a leash when entering and exiting the park. We all can agree, I'm assuming, that after you enter the park, you can take your dog off the leash. If that's true, I think that logic then has to be applied to exiting as well. In the dog park, Fairmount Dog Park is almost 12 acres. I think if you're at the dog park and your dog is under your control, hey, come here. And they come here, sit down, and they sit, go get the ball. And they get the ball and they bring it back. I think that's adorable. I think it's cute. I don't think anybody's going to be mad about that unless, as Michael was saying, maybe they just don't like you or something.
And are you talking about, I can't, so you're painting this picture and I don't know how much of this is happening inside the fence, the dog park fence, or outside.
So the rules for the leash, according to the city, don't apply to a dog park.
The fenced-in area of a dog park.
So the city ordinance says dog park. That's all it says.
Okay,
That's what I was sending you guys in that other document.
got it.
And that gives the park department, us, well, the board, the ability to make different rules for the parks about leashes. So we can designate Spring Valley as a fetch friendly park or whatever you want to call it. And then all you have to do is put up a sign that says dogs can be at large. I don't know if that's the best wording. Dogs can be off leash. Maybe Joseph has some suggestions. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would offer, Benjamin, and this is just my personal opinion, the city, this is a discussion between what's practically appropriate, given your situation and what we're talking about, and liability. And the city is not going to agree to any rule that exposes them to liability. Even if we as a board agree to, we'll let dogs be off leash. City attorney will say, okay, what does that mean? And if somebody is bitten by a dog that's off leash in a city park, they're liable. That'll be a problem for them.
That just happened 2 weeks ago. How much liability did he have? None.
If that person were to pursue it, we could have ourselves in a situation.
You know, that could happen inside the park too.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
So I don't understand what we're saying then.
Have we compared any of these rules to similar sized cities, like what they do in Battle Creek? Or because I watch a lot of court TV, and I always hear the judges, it's like you are responsible for having your dog on a leash in the event, so that, you know, if a person is bitten by a dog,
it's strict liability. You are guilty.
You know, so I think
I'm not talking about a dog bite. I'm talking about playing fetch. If you have any reason to believe your dog is not going to listen to you, you need to know better. You need to keep that dog on a leash.
We can't control that though.
But we don't have to control it.
I ride my bike everywhere and I get chased by dogs a lot.
Then dog on a leash.
Exactly, but we're asking.
They should be.
They should be on a leash. They should have an invisible fence. They should be doing a lot of things, and they don't. And I'll bet you ask every single one of their owners, they will say no, their dog's fine. You know, and I think that's the problem. We have rules in place to stop the worst of things happening that ruin some things for the rest of us. You know, I can drive down the highway 100 miles an hour, no problem, because I've got a nice car. It's got plenty of airbags and it's totally fine, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's safe for everybody else.
Yeah.
So I think I want to go back to Paul's comment about, like, let's talk about the dog park, and let's define the dog park as the fenced-in area and the rules that apply to that. And Ben, it sounds like you aren't a fan of the proposed rules by Sean, and you're by far the most familiar with dog parks. I have dogs, but we don't ever go to the dog park. So I don't know if you want to meld what Sean has with your own ideas and then propose those, or if you just want to create your own and start from that.
I guess I'm kind of feeling the same way, because when I read these 8 rules that would be posted on the sign, actually none of them say that the dog has to be leashed. There's line number 6 that says the dogs must be within sight and under the control of the owner at all times. And that's not saying inside the off-leash area. That's just a generic comment. So I'm not certain there are rules outside the fence that they have to be on leash based on the 8 rules I read here. And these rules, they sound reasonable to me. And so I guess I wonder where, yeah, like what you want for rules, Ben, that, and what's wrong with these ones? Because I'm not clear on that, because it seems like they're pretty open-ended for interpretation, and there's some small issues, but it seems like it's you to be able to do what you're asking to do, unless I'm reading them wrong.
I think they're pretty close. I guess I don't know if we can just go through them real quick and try and make this something of the past since the 3rd month we've worked on it. Would you guys be okay with that? Just go through the 8 of them real quick.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's try to reach some compromise here. I mean, I know Sean has put some effort into it, so.
Is there a way to share them, or do we just have to read them?
Oh, that's a good idea. I don't know if we can screen share them.
I don't.
No worries. I can just read them.
Yeah, I don't think we were prepared to do that.
Number 1, the owner, defined as an individual 18 years or older who brings a dog to the dog park or has a dog in his or her care, is legally responsible for that dog and any injury or damage caused by the dog. I don't have any huge problem with that. Anybody else have a problem with that? All right. 2, the city of Kalamazoo is not liable for any injury or damage caused by any dog. The use of the dog park is at your own risk. I don't know if we want to remove caused by any dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I would think so.
So we'll amend that to the city of Kalamazoo is not liable for any injury or damage. The use of the dog park is at your own risk. Number 3, no more than 2 dogs per owner is permitted in the off-leash enclosure of the dog park. I don't know why it's limited to 2. I can understand like a practical, you have 2 hands keeping control of 2 dogs. But I know a couple people that have 3 dogs that come, and right now it pissed me off. I could call the cops and they would either have to leave or face criminal charges. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't know if anybody's a big fan of that rule, but I'm not.
Ben, would you what kind of a limit would you put on the number of dogs? Or would you?
I want to emphasize that the people have to be able to control the dog. If somebody stops by from the circus and they got 12 dogs and they're all walking in a row, I don't have a problem with 12 dogs. If someone's got 1 dog and they can't keep it under control, I have a problem with that.
Go ahead, Michael.
All right, Ben, I got questions, man, because I don't have dogs. But if you got 10 dogs and they're all walking in a row and my dog is off the hook and I got it in control, but my 1 dog is interacting with your 10 dogs, what makes me think that you can control all 10 of your dogs compared to the 1 dog that I have on a leash?
I think that's an excellent point. Yeah.
What makes me think I can control the dogs?
Yeah, like if you I got the 1 dog and my 1 dog sees your 10 dogs and it's like, oh man, 10 people, let's kick it, right? And it's wild. It's on a leash and I'm controlling it, but your 10 dogs outnumber my 1 dog. So the likelihood of it being bit, or like all the stuff that we read, would be in my head higher for you than it would be for me if I have 1 dog.
So there are more than 10 dogs at the park all the time.
I'm talking about you though, like you brought more than 2 dogs.
If you cannot control your dog, you should not bring 10 dogs to the park. If you can't control your 1 dog, I think you should practice with your dog before bringing it. I mean, if it's just absolutely not listening, I think you should work with it. You definitely should not bring 10 dogs. You probably shouldn't bring 2 dogs. I don't think there's a number so much as there is an emphasis on being able to keep them under your control.
So here's my next question is how do I know that before I walk into the park? Like there's no way for me to evaluate the other dog owners. I think what I hear and what I've heard is the expectation is that the dog owner understands and controls their dog. So I'm putting my livelihood and the rules pretty much in the other person's hands. So like how do we evaluate that?
How do we evaluate letting more than 2 children play at a playground? We don't.
The parents are there or somebody is over them.
Yeah, there's an owner over there.
Yeah, but the playground also has rules that is age appropriate for those particular kids, right? So if I have a 10-year-old that's playing in the child playground, that's not going to be appropriate based off its age, right? And I can identify its age based off its size, right? Like there's signs that you can tell. I don't know about how you do it with dogs. I just don't know how do you enforce like certain rules compared to the others.
This rule is not being enforced right now anyways. I don't know if our goal is to make people who have more than 3 dogs think that they could possibly be criminally charged if they bring more than 3 dogs. Is that our goal? Do we want to prohibit people who have well-behaved dogs that have more than 3 from coming?
Yeah, but this isn't a rule for well-behaved dogs. This is a rule for.
It's a rule
we all know the person who does it, and we're annoyed by them, and then this gives us an opportunity to enforce that.
This applies to all dogs, whether they're behaved or not.
Well, the law applies to all dogs, right? So I don't know. If I saw someone coming in with 4 or 5 dogs, that would make me nervous. But again, we don't go to dog parks. 2 dogs, you have 2 hands. That logistically, that makes sense to me. I'm not saying it's right, but it makes sense.
All right. I guess I'm hearing some mixed stuff on that, so I'll just move on to the 4th one here.
I guess I think what Chris is saying is that the likelihood of someone being able to maintain 2 dogs is better than the likelihood of someone being able to maintain 4, 5, or 6 dogs.
To 1.
I'm sorry, Ben, you cut out.
So let's change it to 1.
I think again, I have 2 dogs and I can grab them both with my one with each hand, I think that's probably where the logic is coming from. It seems to make sense, but that doesn't necessarily mean it does.
I have 2 dogs and I can call them both with no hands every time.
Again, this rule isn't for you. This rule is for the same people who lets their dog run out that chase me down the street and try to bite my ankles, right? That's what the rule is for.
Yeah.
That's not what the rule is for. The rule is for everybody. If you violate this rule, you are guilty. Whether anybody got bit, whether the dog is sitting on your lap, in your coat, in a crate, impossible to hurt anybody. If you have 3 dogs in a crate, you are violating the rule. If somebody calls the cops on you and the cops say, you can only have 2 dogs, that's the rule, we have to enforce it, you have to leave. And they're like, no, I'm not leaving. My dog's not going to hurt anybody. It's in a crate. All 3 of my Chihuahuas are in a crate. They're not going to hurt anybody. I'm not leaving. All right, here's your citation. Show up to court. I'm not gonna fight for that one. I only got 2 dogs, but I don't agree with it. And
Okay, that's fair.
Dogs using the dog park must be at least 4 months old. I think if the reason for that one is because of the vaccinations, I would rather just exclude that altogether and have them be vaccinated. Does anybody disagree with that?
That's gonna be a whole nother battle.
I think that's a fair compromise, because if that was the reasoning behind it, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think that's great. So get rid of the 4 months and say your dog must be vaccinated to be in the dog park.
I love it. Sounds great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dogs must have a valid license and have up-to-date rabies, distemper, and bordetella. I don't have a problem with that, but I guess I do also just want to make it known. I did an unofficial survey, and the majority of people do not have a license. So maybe that's something that we can help. I don't know if maybe there's a way that we can make these civil infractions rather than misdemeanors. I don't know. Anyways.
So ultimately we can get rid of rule number 4 then, right? Because rule number 5 covers that.
Yep.
Okay.
Dogs must have oh wait, I just heard that one. Dogs must be within sight and under control of the owner at all times. Sounds great. Smoking, eating food, dog food, treats, rawhides, alcohol, glass containers are prohibited inside the off-leash enclosure. A lot of people bring dog treats. Again, I asked a lot of people, and this one was kind of divided because as Chris brought up last time, sometimes dogs can be food aggressive, which is true. But sometimes dogs can be toy aggressive. Sometimes we have a couple of dogs that are water aggressive. If anybody gets near the water bowl while they're drinking, they snarl and snap. Obviously, we're not going to ban toys or water bowls, but so I'm not a huge fan of that one. I do understand where it's coming from, trying to limit opportunities for dogs to be dogs. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that rule. Is everybody else okay with getting rid of some of that or all of it?
Again, it makes sense to me, but I'm not a dog park user. So yeah, and you're just really specifically talking about the dog food, treats, and rawhides.
Well,
right?
There's already an ordinance that says you can't drink outside in public minus the drinking zone. So that's already covered in other city ordinances. I don't think constitutionally you can ban somebody from smoking in a park, a public park. I don't know. I guess if someone wants to call the cops for smoking, they can file a civil lawsuit and test that one out. I just don't see the point. Maybe 10 years ago when there was a big movement for anti-smoking, would that apply to vaping? Are people allowed to vape in the park? I mean, I'm not sure we're trying to be police here.
I think that rule is pretty much a general park rule. I don't know if Patrick can speak to that, but I think smoking in public parks was recently, or excuse me, no smoking in public parks was recently added to all the parks, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Sean had planned to try and add that. I'm not sure if it was ever passed or not.
Right. Okay. I think I can see the intent of that rule. You're going to have food, you're going to have treats, you're going to have those. I think having those types of things in a dog park could potentially create conflicts between other dogs.
So can dogs.
A code 360 of Parks and Rec for Michigan says that no person shall smoke in the area or at an event that is posted or otherwise designated to be smoke free. So if they designate that area to be smoke free inside that zone, I guess it would qualify. That's according to what I see on Google.
All right. I mean, again, people do this stuff all the time. I guess we can test it out. Get those people to stop doing that. That's what we want. That's our goal. Our goal is to stop people from doing these things. So we should probably enforce it so that people stop doing these things. Owners must clean up after their dog immediately and dispose of droppings properly. I don't have a problem with that being there, obviously, but that is already covered by another city ordinance. But I think that should be a sign in and of itself. It's always great to have a reminder to pick up dog poop. Additionally, dogs in heat or display symptoms of illness are not permitted in the dog park. Dogs must be spayed or neutered. I would like to get rid of the spayed or neutered part. Again, I don't think constitutionally
Hold on.
you could mandate
Is
somebody.
Is that part of the list, or I mean, that's, I guess I'm
Yes.
not sure what's on the next page. The next page seems to be like things that were removed, but I'm not certain. Patrick, do you have any idea, like the items that are kind of these random ones added on the second page, are those really part of the list? I thought that they were not, but.
Those almost look like
Those-
they were from a previous list that Sean modified and then forgot to delete the bottom part.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, and it could be. I don't know. I think this might be like the larger list that's posted at the park, but the top 8 ones were from what his email said, like the ones he would be fine just posting. I'm not sure.
That's great.
Okay.
I guess, do we want to make that assumption?
I think we kind of have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben, are those the ones that you have an issue with primarily?
I mean, dogs in heat don't normally come to the park anyways. I think dog owners know that if you bring a dog in heat around male dogs, they have a one-track mind.
Yeah.
We don't have a problem with that. So again, I think minimum rules is great because then people actually read them. Most people, when I was bringing this stuff up, they were like, I didn't even know, I've never read those rules. I don't even know about that. And then getting ready for this meeting, a lot of people started reading it and they're like, whoa, this is crazy. I didn't know your dog had to be neutered or spayed. So yeah, if we're taking that off, I think that's great.
I guess that's what we're assuming. I think that's Paul and or Chris's interpretation that those last items were meant to be deleted.
Awesome. So I think the only thing we were changing with the first 8 was getting rid of number 4 because it's already covered. And then getting rid of caused by any dog in number 2. And I think that's it.
And Ben, are you comfortable with like that as a decent place to start?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see anything. Am I missing something about leash in the first part? I mean, I guess something I brought up, I think 2 months ago was, it's kind of getting off topic a little bit, but generally in parks, I don't know if we want to have a conversation about being able to play fetch with your dog. I mean, you have 2 dogs. It's against the law to play fetch with your dog anywhere in the city of Kalamazoo. Even in that document I sent you earlier, even if it's not officially a park, if it's used like a park, as far as these ordinances go, these rules still apply.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
Chris.
Oh, all right, I'll put my hand. Is that something, Ben, we maybe want to cover next month?
I mean,
I'm nervous about time this evening.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve Sean's list with the couple edits that we all talked about.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. And I think I agree with Chris, is we may want to have a larger conversation about general park rules at the next board meeting. Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, I guess just to try bring it back to the closure. Could we have a question about playing catch dog park outside of the fence? Is that something, if your dog is under control, is that something this board wants to prohibit from happening?
I don't trust other people and their dogs, so I'm the wrong guy to answer.
To be honest, I don't think that we do. Is something like that enforced by public safety? I mean, yeah.
But they're enforcing rules. So the city has given the police the authority to enforce park rules.
Right.
And I'm happy to hear now that people won't be able to get charged for having a neutered dog or anything with it.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Ben, this is unique to your situation, but do you feel like playing fetch with your dogs inside the fenced area of the dog park is an inconvenience?
You're not allowed to have food inside. So if you have a potluck with a bunch of dog owners and you go to a dog park to enjoy a potluck or a barbecue together, there is literally no place in the entire city of Kalamazoo where you're not a barbecue with your dogs, unless they're all under the table with you on a leash. Like when you got 20 people and you can throw a ball and the dogs all go chase it, it's kind of fun. When they're all trying to jump up on the table because they're within 6 feet of you and you're putting ketchup on your hot dog, it's a little bit chaotic. I don't know if you've ever had a barbecue at home with your dogs, but keeping your dog within 6 feet of you while you're maintaining a barbecue is not the greatest idea, in my opinion.
Michael, you had a comment?
Yeah, so in that conversation about these rules, especially these park rules, as we start to kind of evaluate and look at them, is it possible to bring in our attorney, the city's attorney, to be a part of this conversation to give us some context around why these rules are even in place? Because I don't want us to spend another hour trying to put them, talk about things that, we might not be able to change just based off of how they show up and whether, what the city would be liable for.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, that's a fantastic suggestion. I wonder if we can table this discussion till next week. And is it even possible? We've never, from my recollection, we've never done that. But have we had a city attorney in one of our calls?
I don't think we have.
Clyde?
Go ahead, Joseph.
Clyde would have plenty to say about these rules.
Let's do that. Let's table.
If we could engage him, I think that would be great.
Yeah. I would like to continue this conversation next month. I mean, Ben, can we put your suggestions? Can we forward your suggestions to Sean, and at the December meeting continue the conversation about adapting these rules?
It's up to the board.
I think John's asking if you're comfortable if we do that. It sounds like that's what we want to do.
Right.
And are you okay with that? Because this is
The third
something
time,
that's near and dear to you.
and we've put it off 3 times now, and Sean was going to communicate with the city attorney to ask what the liability is. It's in the minutes. You guys can listen to the recording. This is the 3rd time. I might be going to jail for the next 3 months on the 23rd. I don't know. I might not. That might be a jail cell. My dog was off the leash while I was barbecuing because I wasn't allowed to be in the park while I was barbecuing. And I'm just standing up for every other person who's trying their best to be a part of society and do good. All these barbecues for 2 years. I've had a problem with one person who has called and called and called. She said we were having a bonfire on the 911 call. She said we were drinking alcohol on the 911 call. Every time the cops show up, there's no booze, there's no bonfire. Yeah, the dogs were off a leash, but I was like, we're at a dog park. They don't have to be on a leash. So everybody, city manager, city attorney, police department, everybody's saying, talk to the parks board. I'm like, I'm on the parks board. And this is the 3rd time. So Sean informed me that the police have other things to worry about. I thought he said they're never going to give a citation for this. So I felt pretty comfortable having my dogs off a leash. The park director's telling me they got other things to worry about. They're not going to do anything about that. And now here I am following the advice of the director, who is now being adamant that you can't have your dogs off. I mean, just to, I'm done.
Ben, I understand your frustration. I get it. I feel like we are making progress. This isn't something that gets done super quickly. So I know you feel like it's been 3 months, but we're moving forward, and we did so pretty well tonight. And in that expectation that we keep moving forward, I really would like to extend this into next week. Excuse me, our next month's meeting. Because I think
Go ahead, Chris.
No, because I do think this off-leash discussion can be very, very complicated, and I am nervous about time.
That's fair. I mean, for example, in these charges, the city attorney said he would be willing to drop the charges if I could prove my dogs are service dogs. And you just have to have an ID or something. And that in and of itself is a misdemeanor. You can't demand somebody with a service dog show ID. So, I mean, it can go back and forth where everybody's making mistakes. But I think the fault is that we're criminalizing mistakes or little things. Again, maybe the conversation can lead towards like a civil infraction, something like that. But I think that would have to go to the city commission, not even us. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, so different issue, Benjamin, but so what's your timetable?
For
23rd?
Yeah, yep.
You know, my guess is that Sean could talk to the city attorney, Clyde, and say, these are the rules. But even then, are they going to make those retroactive to the infraction you've been charged with? So.
No, I'm going to go to jail no matter what. They've already made it clear they're not going to do that. But I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for society. If people
going forward, sure.
I want people to feel comfortable to go to parks and not worry about going to jail if they're playing fetch with their dog. That's not our goal.
Same charter that we all have.
There's more to this than we all know. So I know that Michael had a comment. Go ahead, Michael.
Just real quick, it's like so I get it now, I get it. But I think my pushback in the conversation is that when I was listening to it, like I totally understand where you're coming from, Ben. But my question back to you would be is, as you are representing the population and speaking up for those individuals, are those individuals acknowledgeable about the park rules and the rules that, you know, apply to their dogs? And number two is, what is the evidence you would show? I've talked to 20 residents. They all disagree with number 5 and 6 is a different conversation than saying we sat on the commission board and we tried to, you know, change the laws. So what kind of data could you put behind the message to influence the argument besides us coming as a commission? That was just my thinking in the conversation. But my second point is with Chris is like, I don't know about some of these laws, so I would feel more comfortable with somebody that is knowledgeable about these issues and what they mean, besides us and me putting my vote in the hat saying this is a good idea compared to that, because I have no clue about dogs and, you know, everything we're talking about today. So I would like to make the motion to pause our conversation outside of the other edits that we did today to the first document and follow up with that next month with the city attorney's presence and some kind of answer to what we did today about what those edits could look like moving forward. Let's get some finalization on this. Let's get some clarity next month. Let's bring everybody to the table and let's keep it moving.
I second that motion. Can we also add maybe a public safety officer if possible?
Say it again, Ben. I didn't understand you.
I don't know if we could invite maybe someone from the public safety department to kind of give how they would perceive somebody, you know, if somebody's there without a county ID, since we all agree that's something that's necessary. If somebody doesn't have an ID and somebody's like, I'm calling the cops on you because you need to have an ID. If the cops come, hey, you have to leave. Are they going to be like, we're going to take down your name and number and check and see if you have an ID? And if you don't have one, we're going to give you a ticket for $12. And that's going to give you your ID, similar to what the state does with state park passes. If you don't have a state park pass, they give you a ticket for $12 and then you have a state park pass and then you don't need one the rest of the year. I don't know if that's something that we would like to do. So,
Michael, it's your motion.
Yes, I do think we need public safety officers there to speak to that. I think the more the merrier. So I would include those amendments to the motion.
second that.
Okay, all in favor. So we're going to continue this conversation at our December meeting, asking for a representative from the city attorney's office and public safety as well. Is that correct?
Not a representative. I think we should have Mr. Clyde himself, you know, speak to the kind of, you know, what we're talking about. Like, we've been at it for 3 months. Having him here will give us some clarity. We can put it on the agenda ahead of time to make sure it happens. Like, I think it should be the actual city attorney to kind of address the commission.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. New business, expiring board member positions. John Johnson, Chris Bowl, and Pamela Rowland. Patrick, do you know the context of the conversation, or are we just making that known?
I do not.
Are you guys all really leaving? Are they forced to leave?
I believe I am term limited. I believe Pam is term limited, and Chris
I'm term limited. Yeah, term limited as well.
Okay, so the three of us are term limited. they actually granted me an extra term because there was a lack of interest in new board members. So I'm more than term limited.
I think that's all there really is to say about that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The three of us are off as of January 1st.
At some point, do we have to have a new board president, or what's your title, John?
At the
chair. The chair.
Yeah, at the January meeting, those of you who are returning will have to elect a board chair and a board vice chair. That's correct.
Who will run the meeting?
Good question.
That's a great question, Paul.
You will have to decide.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
that's
probably something we'd have to ask.
I have a feeling
Clerk
that's why
Borland.
this is on here, is that we might have to decide the chair or the vice chair before you guys leave, so that we have someone to replace you. So maybe for December, if you want to be chair, come prepared.
Come prepared, right. You know what? Go ahead, Michael.
Is there any preparation materials? You know, we've been talking about packets all day, but I feel like there has to be some kind of chair or some kind of vice chair packet that kind of gives orders of operations. No. Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Ben.
At our last meeting, I was talking about the bylaws, and Sean emailed that out to all of us. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to read that or not.
Negative.
But that has a whole procedures for how you elect a chair, and
okay. I suggest that we all read that before the December meeting. To be honest, I don't recall seeing it, but I will certainly look for it.
it was sent September 7th.
Okay, I will look for that. I apologize for not seeing that.
I don't think you were at that meeting, actually.
No, but I would have received the email. Yeah. City Commission budget meeting.
We just need a date and time refresher for that. So we can
December
attend.
13th.
Thank you.
I think 6 p.m.
And I assume City Commission budget meetings are still via Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the end of the year.
Okay, so public can leave comments, I assume, on the same phone number that's being displayed for our meeting?
I believe so, yeah. But we can double check with Sean, but I think that's the same number, yes.
Okay. Event recommendations, a Deb Droppers New Year's Eve Fest, Bronson Park on December 31st. Any comments, questions about that event recommendation? Go ahead, Chris.
This is a event that Deb does every year and has been doing this for decades. So this isn't anything new to the board. So what I'm trying to say, it's fairly routine for us to just approve it.
Would you like to make that motion, Chris?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve what's the event called again?
New Year's Eve Fest.
New Year's Eve Fest by Deb Droppers.
Is there a second?
I got a question.
Go ahead, Michael.
I seconded it and I wanted to ask a question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have a second, so we can all vote then. And then, Michael, you're going to ask your question?
Either or, I think you get questions out before you take the final vote. Just if we follow Robert's rules of order, it just depends on how, particularly we want to get. I just wanted to find out, I'm thinking about January now. So as we move forward, like your annual events that have been done every year or might be consistent, we voted on, I have no clue about if the people that have made those votes before are not present. So how and what way will we communicate events like this, and the importance to our community or whether or not we should approve it compared to what other ones might come? Like, what way should we move forward with identifying longstanding partnerships with pre-existing, city partners, right? Like, how will I know? And what will we use to kind of identify them outside of the application?
I mean, I usually look to either Patrick or Sean or someone as like giving us guidance on whether the event has been successful, because like we use that reputation to kind of make sure that, to steer our future decisions. And so what's better than an application? It's just evidence that they are able to host the event well. And so for the most part, someone from the Parks Department should notify us if there's anything wrong with the event, a past event. Is that good enough, or would you think you'd want more?
No, I think I would want more, and I'm just thinking about like I participate in city functions too, right? Like I've submitted applications and had events, and it's been approved without any kind of conversation about how feasible your idea is. Like I'm running soapbox cars into major streets, and nobody's checking to see how well I build soapboxes, right? Like, so moving forward, if the soapbox derby for Michael Harrison comes on the board, and I'm trying to go down Westnich, right, the biggest hill in Kalamazoo, I want the same kind of assistance or kind of limelight that you give Deb Dropper, because this is my annual event. I've just moved it to a new location. But in all likelihood, right, driving down soapboxes on Westnich might not be the best idea. So how do I make sure that either I have the opportunity to present it to the Parks and Rec board and say, hey, man, this is a good idea and listen to it, compared to somebody that does it every year? It's like, man, we do this every year, just take it and move it on. The equity in the process to make sure everybody gets the same kind of chance to kind of prove their case.
So one idea is you could go through the minutes from the past and you could see what's been approved. That's kind of a slow way to do it. What I was told the first time I was ever on a board was you just pass it unless there's something in particular you don't like, which isn't, not advice, but it's not advice either. We could also ask applicants in the future. I think we've had applicants on the meetings in the past, not a lot, to ask them about their event. Otherwise, the application has a little bit of information that they describe the event. If you want people to give more details in the future, we could start not passing them if they don't give a lot of details, which would encourage people to give more details. Otherwise, I think there's a lot of equity in just approving pretty much everything that doesn't seem crazy.
Shannon, would it be possible for you and or Sean to give us some guidance or give the board some guidance as to regularly occurring events or events that have been planned previous years, so that the board can have some idea of some of these regularly occurring events?
Yeah, I can do that when the applications come in and I send it in the agenda. I can let you know if they've occurred in the past. So like the New Year's Fest is one that has occurred regularly, and the second one on this list has also occurred in the past. And then the third one that you guys are going to talk about, the first year that they had it was this year. So those have all already happened in the past.
Okay. And that's something that you and or Sean can share.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. For forthcoming meetings. Okay. Thank you. Did we have a second for the Deb Droppers New Year's Eve Fest? Michael, did you second that?
You did.
Michael, are you saying yes?
Yes, I did second that.
Okay, all in favor for the New Year's Eve Fest, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So moved. Bonnie Sexton Kalamazoo Classic 10K run and 5K run walk on June 18th. Any comments, questions about that event, concerns?
Make a motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
Aye.
Second, Chris Bowles, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Chris Rizzuto Kalamazoo Italian Festival at SRC Field, September 16th through the 18th. Any questions or concerns about that? Is there a motion? Is there a motion for that event?
I'm reading through it again one more time.
Yeah. Shannon, you said that this one was a reoccurring event.
Yeah, they had it for the first time this year, in September.
How did it go?
I think it went really well. Patrick, do you think it went well?
Yeah, it did. Carl, who owns Papa's just around the corner from us, puts it on. And he moved it to SRC this year. He was very, very happy with the turnout. I think the heat was a little bit of a issue that weekend. It was pretty hot, but he was really happy with it and looks forward to doing it again if he's able.
Was there alcohol in it last year?
I believe so, but if there was, it was through the MCC, whatever the acronym is, the nonprofit licensing for just that event.
It's
Yeah, I
listed
think
as,
the application shows.
Paul, did you have a comment?
oh, I just was saying, I thought I heard someone else talking, but there is beer, wine, and entertainment listed in the application.
Yep.
Is there a motion?
Are we approving the alcohol?
No, that has to go through the state liquor commission. It's just the
Well,
event.
As far as like, there are rules that you can't have alcohol in parks unless approved by the city. Are we the aspect of the city that's approving that?
No, that would be the city attorney's office through the special event process.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will make a motion to approve the Kalamazoo Italian Festival.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. I don't see any Adopt a Park applications. Are there citizen non-agenda item comments?
There is a comment, I will say, well, we should play anyway, but they look like they got cut off, so you don't really get much of a comment. But for sake of playing anything that comes in, we'll go ahead and play it.
Okay.
I was kind of hoping they would call back, but they never did.
Okay, thank you.
Here it comes.
My name is Diara Walker, and I live within Kalamazoo city limits. I would like to make a comment on the dog park rules, which are in the agenda as a previous.
And that's it.
Okay, what hopefully they can make a comment next month when we revisit this topic. Chris, any comment?
Yeah, Ben, is that a name that you're familiar with?
I know people's dogs' names a lot more than their names, but I think I might.
All right. Well, let's hope they call back next month. If you had an idea of who it was, I'd love for you to go out and try to track that information down. But
thanks.
Commission liaison is not here. Patrick, would you have any comment for Friends of Recreation?
I do not.
Okay. Any information for the Parks and Recreation Director monthly report?
I'm not sure what Sean had. I was just going to give you a quick update from the park side of things. We are kind of in the middle of winterizations right now. And then the main thing I wanted to bring up, I think Sean reached out to Pam today. Friday, we will be planting the trees at MLK Park.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
With forestry.
Good.
Yeah.
How's the splash pad coming?
It's good. They've kind of got things laid out, and they're just hoping for a slight break in the weather to pour any type of concrete or anything, and then do the rest of the work in the road to correct the water line. So
that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any staff comments, Shannon?
Nothing from me.
Board member comments. Chris, any comment? Pam, any comment? Pam, do you have a comment? Pam, you're on mute. Pam, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I keep going in and out. I'm having problems with my computer, so I'm missing most of the meeting.
Oh, no.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. Paul, comments?
No.
Benjamin, any further comments?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to mention the one I sent you guys this afternoon. We don't have the power to change, but the city does, but we could always make recommendations. And there's some pretty silly things that right now are illegal in Kalamazoo. Just one that comes to mind is you're not allowed to wade in any swim or wading is prohibited except at Kick Pool and Woods Lake Beach during designated hours. So if you wade in the water at Spring Valley, that's a misdemeanor. If you swim in the water at Woods Lake at the other beach on the other side, it's called like Little Lake Park or something like that. That's a misdemeanor. So I don't know if you guys want to look through that and maybe we can talk about that at a future meeting to make recommendations for the city. Just to kind of clear things up. That's all. Thank you.
Ben, is that something you want to include at next month's meeting if we have the city attorney there?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Any other comments? Ben? Okay, thank you. Michael, comments?
No comments.
Thank you. Joseph, any comments?
Don, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess the only comments I want to make is I've noticed a decline in adopt-a-park applications. And I guess I would like to challenge the board members to reach out to businesses or business associates, neighborhoods, family and friends to see if we can get some more of those parks adopted. Ben, go ahead.
Is there any way that we can see a list of parks that are adopted and by who? Maybe that might help interest like organizations. One more way to get their name out there.
Yeah,
would be
Shannon, I think either you or Sean shared that list with me fairly recently.
Yep, I emailed the list to all of you guys, and it's also on our website.
Okay, thank you. Caitlin, I'm sorry, I forgot you. Any comments? Okay, thank you. I believe that's it for this evening. Everybody, I appreciate your contributions tonight. We are adjourned.
good night.
Guys.
Yes.